Break in your watercolor sketchbook with this beginner-friendly stormy sky and silhouette project. Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and today we are doing one of those great watercolor projects together that's very beginner friendly. It's fun, it's easy, but it has a wonderful result. Good bang for your buck, as I always say. I am working in a little Strathmore watercolor sketchbook, and then we're going to block out a rectangle using washi tape. So we're masking out a little rectangle. I'm going to mix up a bunch of colors. I'm using my Muño 48 pan watercolor set, but you can use any watercolors that you happen to have. And the first thing is to mix up a bunch of different colors. You might try some dark blues, some purpley blacks, some milky purpley grays. I even have a little bit of yellow. And then we're going to start painting a sky. Now I begin by wetting the top area of my paper, and then we are going to start grabbing those colors that we mixed up, the grays, the blues, the purples, the blacks, and we are going to kind of let them loose. So this is wet into wet watercolor painting. We've laid down a basic wash of a clear wash, and now we are releasing color onto wet paper. And the wonderful thing about watercolor paints is that they kind of do their own thing. They do a little bit of the work for you, and you can see that the paint is really blending beautifully because I have wet the page. Now, as we paint in our thunderstorm, our beautiful dark dramatic sky, you might also release more paint into the colored area as it is still wet, and you will continue to wet the page and release more pigment into the wet area. I'm also doing a very large sky. You'll notice the horizon line is going to be very, very low, so this painting is all about the sky. Now I've worked my purples and grays from the top down, and at the very bottom of this rectangle, I'm going to add that bit of yellow. I just love the look of a yellow sky. It's so eerie. And then as the upper area of the sky begins to dry, I will add more pigment. But the thing here is that it's not completely dry. It's just more dry than it was. So it's still a little bit wet. And when your paint or water is a little bit wet, you're going to still get that beautiful blending of color, but it won't be as dramatic. The colors won't move as much. So the wetter the paper, the more movement you'll get. And you can always add more water. You see me doing that here. I add a bit of pigment, I add a little bit of water, I blend it out, I let things bleed and mix, and I'm just kind of just experimenting. I don't have an exact thing that I can tell you except to play with your watercolors, have fun, and just see what emerges. I'm going to do a few things to finish up the sky. First, you'll see me adding a little bit more yellow. And then I am just doing a bit of dotting with this purpley gray color to continue the look of clouds. And finally, the last thing that I want to do is use a wet, clean brush, and I'm going to erase a little bit of paint. So if there's any spot that looks like you could use a break between the clouds, you can use a damp, clean brush to kind of pick up a little bit of paint or even move a line of pigment. And that's what you see me doing there. And then we are letting that dry completely. With the sky done, all that's left to do is add this beautiful silhouette in the foreground at the very bottom. So I've mixed up a very dark saturated black paint, and I am going to use a tiny, I think this is a number 1 or a number 0 pointed round brush, and I am going to start adding our silhouette. And for the silhouette, you could do anything. It could be mountains, trees, a city skyline. I am doing this kind of curving line to represent land, and then I'm going to do a little farmhouse and telephone poles. So keep it simple. Use the very tip of your brush and a very saturated black paint. You want that watercolor black to be inky. Now, another thing you could do is just do this in pen. If you feel like you won't get the control you need working with a paintbrush, work with a fine liner, a Sharpie, or a watercolor pencil. So those colored pencils, you could start with a nice sharp black one and then blend it out or render the medium with water later. So lots of options for this. I am doing it just with my little paintbrush, and you can see me adding all these telephone poles and the lines between them. Everything is very perfectly imperfect. I don't want this to look too stiff or structured. I'm just keeping it really loose and simple. This is supposed to be a fun, very approachable sketchbook project. So that's looking good. I like the way it looks. And now what I want to do is simply add, I keep wanting to call this a weather vane, but it's not. It's like a little windmill or something. Anyways, it's kind of like this old-fashioned farm look that I'm going for. The farm with the storm clouds above it. I really like that. I'm happy with the way this turned out. It was just something fun and different to try in my little mini sketchbook. The best part is definitely just removing the tape when this is all dry, and it looks so good and crisp to have that beautiful big border back. And yeah, I just love this. The sky is all experiment, it's all play, and you just never know exactly what you're going to get. And that is the beautiful thing about working with watercolors. Give your piece of art a little title and date and sign it if you like, and that is done. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.